If you're thinking about upgrading, hold that thought. Sennheiser and me, we have a lot of history. In fact, my first review on this channel was the Sennheiser Momentum 3. The Sennheiser Momentum 4 is supposed to be an update to the Momentum 3, but they couldn't be more different if they tried. I'll start with the way they look and feel. The Momentum 4 are modern and minimalist. They're clean, they're soft plastic with few lines, there's fabric on top. That's in stark contrast to the Momentum 3, which is mostly metal, leather, and plastic throughout. And unlike the Momentum 3, I found the headband on the Momentum 4 to be extremely comfortable. The ear cups on the Momentum 4 are also this artificial leather, which is super soft. This is different again from the Momentum 3 itself, which has a stiffer sheepskin leather pad. The Momentum 4's ear pads remind me a lot of the Sony WH-1000X Mark IV, where it's really soft and squishy. For me, that ends up building just a lot of ear heat. The clamping force, the force that the headphones press on your ears, that's really fantastic, and it's really comfortable on the Momentum 4, way more so than on the Momentum 3. They're both comfortable enough, so you're not going to really hate one or the other, generally speaking. The overall build is pretty good though, and for the most part feels really sturdy. The Momentum 4 comes in at 295 grams or 10.4 ounces, which is noticeably lighter than the Momentum 3, which is 316 grams or 11.1 ounces. So my grades: looks, 4 out of 5. They're stylish, minimalist, and I love the use of fabric in the headband, but I do miss the metal finishes of the Momentum 3. Build, 4 out of 5. The overall build is pretty good on the Momentum 4, no complaints. Comfort, 3 out of 5. Way better on these than the previous version, but ear heat is an issue. Along with these minimalist looks also come fewer buttons. In the Momentum 3, they had a lot of buttons. In the Momentum 4, you got just one. It's mostly all touch controls and sensors, whereas here had a couple of sensors, sure, like on-ear detection, but no touch controls, just buttons. You can use this single button for powering on and off, accessing your headphones assistant, gone by the way is Amazon Alexa as a default, and hearing your current battery level. You can also use it for pairing. You can pair up to 6 devices, by the way, but only 2 can be used at the same time, and you control this via the app. Outside of the power button, there is a 2.5 millimeter auxiliary port, a USB-C port, which you can use to listen to music, and the status lights that show your battery life, power status, and pairing status. By the way, if you're finding this useful, please consider hitting that like button. That helps the channel a ton. And if you want more videos like these, hit subscribe to stay up to date. If you already have, thank you. The touch control scheme is actually pretty easy to learn. The weirdest and most interesting control to me was actually the pinch control, which lets you switch from noise canceling to transparency in stages. Just take a listen. Now there is one thing you may have noticed here, and that is that there's only really 2 modes: noise canceling on or transparency. You can slide between them, but you can't really turn both off at the same time. You can only pick one or the other at different degrees. This is a bit of a downgrade from the Momentum 3, which featured max, anti-wind, and anti-pressure modes for noise canceling, as well as the ability to turn everything off, in addition to turning on transparency or off entirely. So you could have everything on and off with button presses or the flip of a switch. Mind you, being able to choose different levels is great, and it reminds me a lot of what Sony does with their own headphones, but not being able to turn active noise canceling off is, I feel, a big miss. Here are some samples. So clearly the noise canceling on the Momentum 4 is better than the Momentum 3. It's not the best out there, but it's still decent enough. The noise canceling is adaptive by default, but you can't turn this off. The transparency mode itself is okay, but not fantastic. The Momentum 4 have a ridiculously good battery life. 60 hours total playtime. This is a ton better than with the Momentum 3, which only got 17 hours of battery life. With the Momentum 4, by the way, you also get an hour's worth of music with a 5-minute fast charge. What's even cooler is what they try to do with the power management. They have an on-ear detection, which you can turn off with the app. If you take them off, then the music will pause or it'll put your phone calls on hold. Leave them off for a little bit and eventually they just shut off entirely. Put them back on after they shut off and they turn right back on. So they're really not turning off, they're just entering a low power mode. which reminds me, a quick note on the case. This is a proper case that you get with the Momentum 4. With the Momentum 3, the case was just awful. It was this floppy, cake-looking thing that honestly didn't protect anything. It was just there for show. This, however, is protective, it's well thought out. I absolutely adore this case. It is what a case should be. And it has additional functionality. You put the headphones in there and automatically it puts them in a low power saving mode. It's fantastic. It's also kind of buggy. In fact, this is actually where I'm going to go ahead and go into some of the bugs. First, if your device is playing music and you want to go ahead and connect the headphones while that's happening, you can go ahead and connect them, but they won't actually connect. They'll say they're connected. They'll tell you connected, but if you go to your Bluetooth settings, it's not connected. You actually have to manually connect it. Another thing, if you press and hold the power button for more than 4 seconds while they are on, they'll give you a chime like if they're turning off, but they'll just keep playing music. You have to actually press and hold the power button for only 3 seconds. No more, no less. It's like a Monty Python skit. Why do that instead of just, taking them off? Sometimes even in the case, when they're supposed to be auto shut off, or at least auto low power mode, they randomly turn on and connect. For example, I was driving and had them in a bag in my trunk. Something shifted and yep, they're randomly connected. Good ideas, bad execution. Also, sometimes if I'm wearing them and I start moving around, the head detection thinks that I've taken them off, so the music or the video would just stop. I've had the same issue happen with both the Momentum 3 and the PXC550 Mark II, so it's nothing new for Sennheiser, but it's still annoying. The power management and connection features are really buggy. I like what they're trying to do, it's ambitious, but it needs a lot of work. So lots of scores here. User interface design, 4 out of 5. I like what they've done, but there are a few bugs. Noise canceling and transparency, 3 out of 5. It's decent, but it could be better. Battery, 5 out of 5. 60 hours is great, and the power management is ambitious, if again, buggy. Case, 5 out of 5. This is what a case for headphones should be. Connectivity, 2 out of 5. Connects to multiple devices, and I love the connection management, but there are some extremely annoying bugs here that need to be fixed. As with everything in the Momentum 4, the way these headphones sound is completely different than the Momentum 3. Unlike the Momentum 3, which give you a neutral, detailed sound throughout, with a slight roll-off at the lowest ends of the sub-bass, the Momentum 4 give a massive influx of deep bass. This means that out of the box, the sound is much more bass-heavy than the previous generation, and if you love your deep, rumbling bass, then by golly, you're absolutely going to get it. But still, this is not an overpowering bass, mostly because it's focused in the sub bass rather than in the upper bass, so that there's still some decent clarity in the mids. And at the heights, you still get some good presence and brilliance, just not as clear as the Momentum 3. Overall, not a bad sound, and definitely warmer than the Momentum 3, but also not as detailed. Now, all of this applies only if you're listening to these when they're turned on and wireless. If you turn them off and plug them in using the audio jack, the sound is not great. If you want to listen to music when they're plugged in, go ahead and turn them on. Of course, if you're on a computer, just use the USB-C port to listen to music, which will give you an excellent sound while also recharging the battery. And yes, with the appropriate equipment, these handle lossless. When it comes to the overall sound signature and qualities, there are 2 songs that you can check out which I feel highlight the differences between the Momentum 3 and the Momentum 4. The first is Bad Guy by Billie Eilish, which I adore on the Momentum 4 because the intro has both a controlled, punchy bass as well as really nice rumble. Most importantly, these remain clear in the mids, and you can even pick up some of the subtleties in the music. Using the default EQ settings, I feel that the Momentum 4 makes the song sound better, although the song does also show how much more controlled the sound on the Momentum 3 is. The second song is Steely Dan's Jack of Speed, and you can really hear the difference here. Instrument separation, stage presence, and just the overall detail is better on the Momentum 3 than the Momentum 4. So for this one, the Momentum 3 wins. Sennheiser did give us a couple of great tools to tune these in the Smart Control app. First is the usual 3-band EQ, which is simple but works just fine for the vast majority of people. This also comes with a number of presets that you can choose from. More importantly though, is a sound check tool. This takes you through a few tests and based on the results, develops an audio profile for you. For me, this worked incredibly well, and the profile I got out of it was surprising to me, to be totally honest, but also deeply satisfying. Now, when it comes to codecs, Sennheiser is usually very generous about these, and this is no different. The Momentum 3 and 4 can both handle SBC, AAC, aptX, and aptX low latency. The Momentum 4 upgrades to aptX Adaptive, which improves the overall quality wherever that's available. If you're using this for phone calls, the Momentum 4 introduces a feature called Side Note. This helps you decide how much you want to hear yourself during phone conversations. This is really nice. So what's not so nice is that I had a lot of problems taking phone calls with these. The controls just don't feel intuitive there, and these would answer calls, but then I couldn't hear anything. That said, if you're still interested in calls, here's my mic comparison.
This is a microphone test of the Sennheiser Momentum 3. Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. This is a microphone test of the Sennheiser Momentum 4. Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3.
And this is the sound of wired earbuds.
So my grades. Sound, 4 out of 5. All in all, I prefer the Momentum 3 sound over the Momentum 4. I love the bass and it's a fun sound overall, but this is almost fundamentally different than what I expect from Sennheiser. Still enjoyable, and I think most people will like this just fine. Finally, the sound check tool is really useful and helpful to get the best sound out of these. Phone calls, 2 out of 5. Audio quality is on par for what I expected, but it's nothing special. A side tone is a really nice feature, but taking calls is so buggy that it's annoying. So on the screen, you can see my scores. 1 means I hate it, 2 means I don't like it, 3 means it's okay, 4 means I like it, and 5 means that I love it. You should only count the scores that matter to you and then average those out to get your own score. So who should get the Momentum 4? This is a good all-around pair of headphones that's especially good for commuters and people who travel. It has a really enjoyable sound, especially that deep bass rumble, but here I generally prefer the Momentum 3. It's clear and can get just as much rumble with the EQ. In the same price range, you'll also find the Sony XM5 and the Bose Quiet Comfort 45, which is missing a ton of features, but sounds great and is really comfortable. Now, I wish I could recommend the Momentum 4 above these because I've historically loved Sennheiser products, but this was a bit disappointing. I love the direction it's going, but it needs a lot of work. In the end, the Momentum 4 is a bit of a mixed bag for me. It's a follow-up to the Momentum 3 in name only. There's a lot of good, ambitious stuff happening here, especially around the power management and user-focused interactions. But the bugs make the Momentum 4 feel more like a Generation 1 product than the 4th generation of a mature product line. The Momentum 4 feels more like an upgrade to the HC450BT or even a follow-up to the Sony WH-1000X Mark IV than a follow-up to the Momentum 3. You get a similar and arguably more polished experience from the Sony XM4, which I don't love, but I will often recommend. The Momentum 4 sounds better, but the XM4 provides a better overall user experience and is less buggy. And if that's what you're looking for, then click here somewhere to see my review of the XM5 in comparison to the Sony XM4 to see if maybe one of those is actually right for you, or click the circle with my face in it to subscribe. With that, thanks for joining me.